My mum's text came in at midnight. I thought it was another guilt trip until I opened it. We changed all the locks. You don't have a home anymore. Let's see how brave you are now. Ha. She didn't sound angry. She sounded excited, like she'd been waiting for the chance to throw me away. I didn't text back. I didn't even cry. I just sat on the edge of my bed and realized something. My own family enjoyed watching me struggle. 2 days passed. Silence from all of them. Then at 6:12 a.m., a new notification, not from Mum, not from Dad, from their lawyer. Subject line, "We have a problem, call immediately." My parents didn't tell me what happened. They couldn't, because by the time I finished reading that email, I already knew. Whatever game they started when they locked me out, it had just blown up in their faces. And I wasn't the one in trouble anymore. The night my mum sent that message didn't feel like a fight. It felt like a final decision. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, half asleep, when my phone buzzed. I picked it up expecting the usual, maybe a reminder, maybe another complaint about how ungrateful I'd become. Instead, the text hit like a punch to the chest. "We changed all the locks. You don't have a home anymore. Let's see how brave you are now. Haha." My first reaction wasn't anger. It wasn't fear either. It was disbelief. Quiet, heavy disbelief. Because she didn't type that in anger. She typed it with joy. There was a confidence in those words, like she finally got the excuse she needed to get rid of me completely. For a long moment, I didn't move. I just stared at the screen, replaying every moment that led up to this. Months of refusing to be their maid, weeks of saying no to taking care of my sister's children, days of ignoring my mum's guilt trips because I worked overtime and couldn't drop everything at her command. They had always operated with one rule: I was only valuable when I was useful to them. And the day I stopped being useful, they stopped pretending to love me. I didn't text back, I didn't argue, I didn't ask why. I simply closed my messages, put my phone face down, and let the silence settle. The thing about silence is, it tells you truths you've been avoiding, like how they never considered my place in that house mine, like how they enjoyed watching me struggle more than they enjoyed helping me succeed, like how they wanted me to be dependent because independence made them lose power. I didn't sleep much that night, but not because I was scared. I stayed awake because I realized something painful but freeing. I had nothing left to lose, and they had much more to fear than I did. I spent the next 2 days in total silence. No calls, no messages, no fight from me. And that quiet, my quiet, was their first warning. Because on the morning of the second day, at exactly 6:12 a.m., my phone buzzed again. This time it was an email, not from my mum, not from my dad, not from my sister, but from their lawyer. Subject line, "We have a problem. Call immediately." I stared at it with a slow, growing smile. Whatever they thought locking me out would accomplish, they just learned it did the opposite. And whatever problem they now had, they were about to realize I wasn't the problem at all. I didn't open the email right away. I just stared at the subject line glowing on my cracked screen, letting the irony settle in. 2 days ago, my mother was laughing while kicking me out of a home I helped pay the bills for. 2 days ago, she was confident enough to mock me like I was powerless. 2 days ago, she thought changing a lock would break me. Now her lawyer was the one reaching out first thing in the morning. Not her, not my father, not my sister, their lawyer. I sat up straighter in bed, suddenly more awake than I'd been in months. My room was cold, silent, almost too quiet, but for once the quiet didn't feel lonely. It felt like control. Something they never expected me to have. I glanced at the time, 6:12 a.m. Who emails anyone at 6 a.m. unless things are bad, really bad? Part of me wanted to laugh, part of me wanted to scream. But the biggest part of me? It felt this strange, calm satisfaction. Not revenge, not spite. Just the truth finally catching up to them. I leaned back against the headboard and let the last 48 hours replay through my mind. The way my mum typed, haha, like a teenager. The way they didn't answer any of my messages before that. The way they always assumed I'd crawl back because I had nowhere else to go. They didn't know I had been planning my exit for months. They didn't know I'd already packed my documents away. They didn't know I'd started putting money aside, dollar by dollar, whenever I got extra freelance work. They didn't know the version of me they were used to no longer existed. And they definitely didn't know the consequences of locking me out would fall on them, not me. My phone buzzed again. A second email from the same lawyer. Following up, please call as soon as possible. That's when I realized something important. My parents hadn't expected me to stay quiet. They expected a meltdown. They expected begging. They expected another emotional explosion they could twist and use later. But I gave them nothing. Just silence. And silence from someone who never fought back is terrifying. I finally opened the email, and the moment I read the first line, my jaw dropped. The locks were the least of their problems. Much bigger trouble was waiting for them, and I wasn't the one who caused it. The first line of the lawyer's email didn't sound like a warning, it sounded like panic dressed in formal wording. Your parents urgently require your cooperation regarding a developing legal matter. Cooperation? From the daughter they threw out 2 days ago. I kept reading. The email went on about property concerns, documentation discrepancies, and immediate clarification needed. It was written in that polished legal tone that tries to hide the fact that someone, somewhere, made a very serious mistake. At the end of the message, one sentence stood out. Your signature appears on a document connected to the family home. I froze. My signature on their house. I hadn't signed anything for them in years. I learned the hard way that just sign this quickly was always code for you'll regret this later. I scrolled further down. Attached to the email was a scanned document. My heart dropped when I opened it. There it was, my name, my signature, a date from 6 months ago. Except I hadn't signed it. I knew my handwriting. And this wasn't mine. Someone had forged my signature, but why? The answer hit almost immediately. My parents had always wanted full control of that house. I just didn't know that legally. Part of it belonged to me. Not because they wanted it that way, but because years ago, when I was barely old enough to understand, my grandmother had added my name to the house deed for safekeeping. She didn't trust them completely, and apparently, she was right. They must have found out. They must have tried to remove me quietly. And when I refused to be their servant anymore, when I stopped helping with everything, when I finally set boundaries, they decided to force me out of the picture. Changing the lock suddenly made sense. If I couldn't get inside, I couldn't find documents, I couldn't ask questions, I couldn't fight back. But forging my signature, that was a crime, a serious one, and now their lawyer needed me to fix a problem they created, without my knowledge. I sat back in my chair, stunned, not because of what they did, but because of what they expected. They kicked me out, mocked me, humiliated me, but the moment things slipped out of their control, they called me. My phone buzzed again, a third email, short, desperate. Please call. This cannot be resolved without you. I placed the phone down slowly. For the first time in my life, I held all the power. Not because I tricked them, not because I outplayed them, but because they underestimated me. And now, they needed the daughter they threw away, and they were about to learn exactly what that felt like. I didn't call the lawyer right away. I let the email sit there for hours while I cleaned my tiny apartment, made breakfast, and took a slow shower. Not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because for once in my life, I wasn't reacting to them. They could wait. By noon, my phone had 6 missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I knew exactly who was behind them. Finally, I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and dialed the lawyer's number. He picked up on the first ring. Hello, yes, is this her? Thank God, we've been trying to reach you. His tone was rushed, nervous, almost apologetic. the kind of tone someone uses when they're talking to the person holding the grenade. I kept my voice calm. "What's the emergency?" He cleared his throat. "Well, your parents are in a bit of a situation. It appears there may have been an error on some official real estate paperwork." "An error?" I repeated, slow on purpose. "Yes," he said quickly. "It seems a signature in your name was submitted without proper verification. The county office flagged it. They're requesting all involved parties to clarify their consent immediately." I let the silence stretch. He continued filling it, nervous. "If the office doesn't get clarification, they could open a formal investigation. It would be best for everyone if you could come down and—" "No," I said. He froze. "No? No, I won't come down there. And no, I won't fix anything." A full 5 seconds of silence followed. I could practically hear his jaw dropping. Well, you see," he stammered, "your parents are quite distressed. They said the matter was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" I said. "They forged my name and kicked me out of my home." Dead silence. "They told me," I continued, "that I don't have a home anymore, so why are they involving me now?" He didn't have an answer. Not a real one. I leaned back in my chair, letting my voice settle into something cold and steady. "I'm not responsible for their actions. If there's an investigation, that's between them and the county." He inhaled sharply. Please reconsider. They expressly asked me to—" I cut him off. "Did they tell you they locked me out? Did they tell you they threatened me in writing? Did they tell you they removed me from a house that legally has my name on it?" "No," he whispered. "Exactly." I could hear papers rustling on his desk, like he was scrambling for another way to convince me. But he had nothing. Finally, he said, "If you won't cooperate, they may face consequences." "That's not my problem." Before he could speak again, I added, "And if anyone contacts me again without acknowledging what they did, I'll forward the forged document to the county myself." His breath caught. You would do that?" "Oh," I said quietly, "I already saved the file." The line went dead silent, not even breathing. Then he exhaled shakily. "I'll inform them." "Good," I said. "Make sure they understand clearly." I hung up. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the family's punching bag. I wasn't the scapegoat. I wasn't the obedient daughter fixing problems I didn't create. I was the person they feared losing, because losing me meant facing themselves. And by the time their lawyer delivered my answer, my parents finally understood something they never imagined. The daughter they threw away now held the match, and the house was full of paper. After I hung up, I placed my phone face down on the desk and just sat there for a moment, letting the quiet fill the room. Not the suffocating kind I grew up with. Not the guilty silence after one of their explosions. This silence felt earned, controlled, mine. It hit me just how strange it was to feel power for the first time in my own story. For years, power in my family meant shouting, threats, manipulation, emotional blackmail. Now it meant saying one simple word they never expected to hear from me: no. I stood up and walked toward the window. Outside, kids were playing, cars were passing, neighbors were gardening. Ordinary life. And somewhere across town, my parents were probably pacing around their living room, arguing with each other, wondering how everything spiraled so fast. They thought locking me out would scare me. They thought it would make me beg. They thought they had cut me off. But they forgot one thing. When you throw someone out of the house, you also throw away any control you had over them. My phone buzzed again. A message this time, not from the lawyer, from my sister. "What did you do? Mum is crying." I stared at the screen and almost laughed. What did I do? They forged my name. They illegally altered property documents. They locked me out of my grandmother's house. They mocked me, humiliated me, and expected me to crawl back. Yet somehow I was the villain. I typed back slowly. "Ask Mum why she needed to fake my signature." She read it. She didn't reply. 2 minutes later, my dad called. His name lit up the screen, a name that once gave me instant panic. Now? Nothing, just noise. I let it ring. He called again and again. Then a text. "We need to talk, now." Funny how fast "you don't have a home anymore" turns into "we need you." Another message. "Don't make this worse." I stared at that one. That sentence was my entire childhood, a threat disguised as advice. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the forged document again, zooming in on the shaky imitation of my signature. The slanted letters, the shaky ending stroke, the mismatched spacing. They didn't even try to make it believable. I whispered to myself, they really thought I was that powerless. And maybe I used to be, but not anymore. A knock on my apartment door made me jump. I walked quietly to the peephole, and my heart nearly burst out of my chest. My parents were standing there, both of them, together, looking frantic. My mum's hair was messy, eyes red like she'd been crying. My dad's jaw was tight, but I could see fear behind the anger. They actually drove across town, to my apartment, because the lawyer must have told them the one thing they never wanted to hear. "She doesn't need you anymore, but you need her." They didn't see me, but I watched them through the door. My mum kept wringing her hands. My father kept glancing around the hallway like he expected me to run. It was surreal, seeing the people who made me feel small look small themselves. They knocked again. "Open the door," my dad said, voice shaking more than he intended. I didn't move. For once, they were the ones waiting, and I let them. I didn't open the door. I didn't even clear my throat to let them know I was standing on the other side. I just watched through the peephole while years of their arrogance slowly drained out of them. My mum knocked again, softer this time. "Honey, please, we need to talk." Honey. The same woman who typed "haha" when she locked me out of the house was suddenly soft-spoken and gentle. My dad stepped closer to the door. His voice was low, tight. "You don't understand how serious this is. Open the door, right now." I almost laughed. The shift in tone wasn't concern, it was desperation. I finally spoke, keeping my voice calm and steady. "You didn't want to talk 2 days ago." I heard my mum gasp. My dad's hand pressed flat against the door like he wanted to push it open by force. My mum tried again. "That message! It wasn't meant like that. We were upset. You know how families fight." "No," I said. "You were proud of it. You wanted me out." Silence. My dad swallowed hard. "We made a mistake." I raised an eyebrow even though they couldn't see me. Not because he admitted it, but because he said "we," not "you." It meant they'd been arguing, finger-pointing, blaming each other. Good, they deserved that. I folded my arms and continued. What mistake exactly, because there were several. My parents froze. They knew the question wasn't about the locks. My dad cleared his throat. "About the paper, the signature, it wasn't, we didn't think it would. You forged my name." My mum let out a choking sound. "Honey, no. We didn't mean to. You forged my name," I repeated calmly, "and you got caught." My dad finally snapped. "This is not the time to be dramatic. We need you to go to the county office and fix this before you get investigated." My mum's hand flew to her mouth. My dad's expression shifted to pure panic, the kind he used to hide behind threats. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I didn't let my anger control me. I spoke slowly, clearly. "You locked me out of my own house. You laughed about it. You told me I wasn't part of this family anymore, and now you want me to rescue you?" My mum started crying. Real tears this time, not the weaponized ones she used on everyone else. But my dad, his voice dropped to a whisper. "What do you want?" There it was, the question they never thought they'd have to ask me. I let the silence stretch, not to be cruel, but because for once I wanted them to sit in the discomfort they'd given me my whole life. Finally, I answered, "I want you to understand you don't own me, not my time, not my life, and definitely not my signature." My dad clenched his jaw. And the house? It's not yours to control, I said. You should have remembered that before you tried to erase me. I could hear them both breathing hard, like the truth was physically painful. My mum whispered, "We could go to jail." "That's not up to me," I said. "That's up to the county office." My dad pressed his forehead against the door. "Please, just tell us what to do." I closed my eyes for a moment, letting that sentence sink in. For the first time ever, my parents weren't commanding me. They were asking, begging. Not because they loved me, not because they respected me, but because they'd finally reached the one place they never imagined they'd find themselves, powerless. I let my parents wait on the other side of the door a little longer, not to be cruel, but because this moment, this shift, was something I needed to feel fully. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm, steady, the opposite of everything happening inside them. "I'll tell the county office the truth," I said. "All of it." My mum whimpered. My dad cursed under his breath. "And the truth," I continued, "is that I didn't sign a single document. I had no knowledge of any house transfer, and I was locked out of the home that legally has my name on it." Silence. Pure, heavy silence. My dad asked, voice trembling, "Would you consider helping us fix it?" Instead of answering, I asked, "Do you even know why Grandma added my name to the deed?" They both said nothing. "My grandmother knew you two better than I did. She didn't trust you with full control. She protected me in the only way she could." My mum broke down completely, sobs shaking her whole body, and for the first time ever, I didn't feel responsible for her feelings. I felt free. "You'll have to meet with the county," I said, "but I won't lie for you. I won't cover anything up. Whatever consequences come, you brought them on yourselves." My dad's voice cracked. "We're still your parents." I closed my eyes. Yes, and parents don't forge their children's signatures. They don't change locks and laugh about throwing them away. The hallway went still. Then I added, "I'm not letting you use me anymore." My mum whispered, "So, what now?" I took a breath. "Now, I protect what's mine, all of it." My dad's voice dropped. "And us. You'll deal with whatever comes next, just like I did when you kicked me out." Their heads lowered. Even through the peephole, I could see it, the weight of their own choices crushing them. Finally, I said, "You can leave now." My mum lifted a hand like she wanted to touch the door, but my dad gently pulled her away. They walked down the hall slowly, like they were leaving a funeral. Maybe they were, because the version of me they controlled, the daughter they silenced, the girl too afraid to speak up, she died the moment they locked me out. When the hallway finally emptied, I stepped back from the door and let out a breath that felt 10 years long. I didn't get revenge by hurting them. I didn't need to. My revenge was simple. They lost their power over me, and they knew it. For the first time ever. They knew it. I turned off the hallway light, locked my own apartment door, and whispered to myself, "This time, the home I build will be one they can never take from me." What would you have done in my place? Would you have opened the door? Would you forgive parents who did something like this? Or is this the kind of betrayal you never come back from? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know how you see it. And if you want more powerful revenge stories like this one, go ahead and hit subscribe before you leave. There's so much more on the way.